You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
If one of your goals in 2024 was to explore new and different revenue streams that you could add to your business, new ways of engaging your clients and creating really great experiences, then today's episode is absolutely perfect for you. Please stay tuned. It's coming right up.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
My special guest today is Emma Lovell, who is on a mission to live the life she loves and to support others to do the same. Emma is a coach, speaker, and writer, and she inspires her clients to focus on what they truly want and go after it wholeheartedly. She shares in this episode with us how she has run a business for the last 14 years while also traveling the world, having a family and making time for herself, which is so important to avoid that burnout. She believes that you can combine business, travel, and self-care to live a life that you love right now. Emma is also a speaker and MC, regularly taking to stages around the world to inspire, motivate, and encourage the audience. She is the host of 3 different podcasts. You will hear her on Lovely Travels, Live and Love Your Brand, and her very latest, The Emma Lovell Show. Emma lives on the Gold Coast here in Australia with her husband, her toddler, and their fur baby cat, T'Challa. I know you're going to love this chat that I have with Emma, and hearing about how she takes her business around the world, but also how you could incorporate something really interesting, something very profitable, fun, and inspiring, and really, I think, soul building, soul connecting, something that will help you to really feel like you're succeeding and loving your business and life balance right now. So without further ado, let me play this interview for you. Awesome. So I'm here today with Emma Lovell, who is a mixture between business, life, and travel expert. So I'm super excited to have a chat with her today all about how we can introduce, travel and merge that with business and life, and really, I guess, start living a life that sounds amazing. Hi, Emma. How are you?
Oh, thanks for having me, Jess. Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. Now, I didn't do a very good job of explaining really what you do. So could you let everybody else in on the secrets of what it is that you do in your business? Who do you serve? How do you serve them?
Yes, I don't love traditional roles and titles, and I find we can get quite trapped by them. So I have a lot of fun experimenting with how I introduce myself, but I always start with my name. I'm Emma Lovell, and I would say I'm a coach, speaker, and writer, and I help entrepreneurs and any people who want to run a business, a profitable, sustainable business, travel more, and live a life they love now. So I think there's so much emphasis put on the future and what we're working towards and all those sorts of things when we could be actually living the life that we want to be living now. I don't believe that I'm going to retire ever. I think I'll always be creating something, and I've been an entrepreneur since I was 9, running garage sales and little massage business as a child. So I feel I'll be an entrepreneur when I'm 80 or 90 or 100, I don't know, doing something. So I love what I do. I don't put myself into a box, as you said, with the coaching. I was focusing on personal brand, but now when I realized that the travel element of my life was more than, it was actually a skill set as well as something that I love doing. It's actually something that I'm able to help people with. And when I brought those all together, so the things that I focus on are business, travel, and self-care. And I believe we can have all 3. I believe we can have them all at once. And one of the ways that I believe that we can most have them, and my sort of lead focus at the moment, is retreats. So hosting retreats, attending retreats, they bring together, you can be there for business development, personal development, You generally do them in a lovely location, and you're also getting to make time and space for yourself. So there's the self-care. And as a host, I get to not only earn money from it, but also experience it. So I feel like I've kind of found my sweet spot.
Yeah, amazing. As somebody who, I guess I would say I've always been a traveler. I've been someone who's had the travel bug. Took off at 18 on my own across the other side of the world and kind of haven't ever stopped since then. So I really get that. It's like there is no other experience quite like it. I think you learn, grow, and evolve so much as a human when you're out of your comfort zone, you're out of what's familiar, and you're experiencing new things. So I really resonate so much with, do it now. Don't wait until some point in the future when you're like, well, once I'm retired, I'm going to travel. Well, we don't even know what's going to happen in the future, do we? So, I feel like that to me would be a really scary way to live my life, because what if I never got there? What if by the time I retired, I actually wasn't able to do all the things in the travel that I wanted to do? There's just so many opportunities and ways that you can do it now. So I love that you're kind of bringing that in and making it really easy and possible for people to do today as opposed to in the future. Now, I'm really interested to hear, a bit of your backstory. You did mention you've been an entrepreneur since the age of 9, which is like seriously, really great going. That's a long time. What sort of been the things that have brought you to this point today? I think we always have a journey where there's different experiences and stuff that we do, but then ends up leading us to a point. And so you've pulled together business, self-care, and travel. What's kind of been in your life and your background that you've drawn those 3 things together to now be leading other people into how they can merge those 3 elements as well?
Oh, I love that question. I'm just going to harp onto that retirement point, because I was just watching with my son the other day the movie Up, and how the movie starts, and it's actually so depressing, really, and sad, that they had this dream, they were adventurous, spirited, and I think the problem with it as well was that it was such a big dream, it was such a big thing to go to the depths of Peru and find this, follow the footsteps of this explorer, that it was so big that they never got to do it, and it meant they didn't travel at all because they were always trying to save such a big amount. I think that happened with COVID as well. There were so many people who had the trip of a lifetime planned, hadn't been gone on holidays for years, saved up for this massive trip, this one big trip, and then they didn't get to take it. And my philosophy is, it's not, yes, I've done the big travels. I did the gap year when I was 18. I've done 3 months, 4 months overseas and things like that, and run my business at the same time, which is why I'm sharing that you can do it. But I think those little top-ups, like sometimes a night away, I went up the Sunshine Coast the other week. I live in the Gold Coast. That 2 hours up the coast, seeing new people, working outside at a cafe for once. I don't do that very often. I focus a lot better inside. It looks glamorous in photos. It's not very practical, but I did it and it was very nice. And just different scenery, different conversations, different energy. One night I felt so great. And I just think we could include travel so much more. It doesn't have to be the big adventurous 6-week 1-year gap year, retirement, traveling for months at a time, grey nomad, driving around in caravans. Like, just my message would be to just try and include some more travel to refresh you and to have it as part of your life, part of your business, part of your everyday, not just the one day, someday in the future thing. So yeah, the movie Up, if you need a good jog, watch the movie Up. It's like, oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. I so agree. I think it's like, we can have those things where it does feel really big, especially if there's a really big idea. And the one day, someday sometimes can stretch on and on and on, and years go by before you realize you haven't done it. And I think, like you said, it's like, why not just actually break it down and make it more simple? Have something that you've got booked in for a weekend, or, a long weekend, or something that's coming up. And it doesn't have to be big and grand. Like, you could go somewhere that's not that far from home, but it's still away, right?
Having a traveler's mindset and looking, and I loved that during COVID, and I know that a lot of people struggled, and I honour that, but I really loved the opportunity to embrace my local area and to see things, and my friend laughs at me because I said, I realized I could walk on the beach right near my house because I always walked on the path because there's a walking path. And then one day I was like, wait a minute, I could walk on the sand if I took my shoes off. It was like so ridiculous because it's always been there, but I just did the thing that I always do. And so taking the chance. And then again, I've fallen back into that pattern of walking on the path. And it's like, just take my shoes off and walk on the sand. Like,
and
then
then such a great analogy, because it's like, how much are you walking on the path in your life right now? I know that it gets hard when you have kids because, I'm in that stage right now. They're both at primary school. It probably is going to get worse when they get to high school. I don't even know what's going to hit me, right? But, they've got lots of activities that are on. It's like there's things on every day. And so it does sort of feel like it's harder to go away or do things because you've literally got this tight schedule, and it's like school and then activities and all these things are kind of booked in, and you've got so much time that's already locked down. But I think if you decide to look for that opportunity and look for the moments and be like, well, when could we go away for a weekend? When, and what if we miss a game? So what if we miss one thing? Is it really going to change, or is the experience that we're going to have in that little bit of time away actually going to be so much more powerful? Because I think that it's so possible. And I know that you mentioned before, it doesn't have to be this grand thing, but something that stood out in my mind is we took our kids and family around Australia in a caravan last year. So we took 8 months off and went on this big trip around, and, people were like, whoa, how can you even do that? People, their minds were blown. We'd meet them at caravan parks, other families, and they might have been local and been on a holiday, and they were just like, oh, I'd love to do that one day. And I'm like, well, if you really want to do it, just decide. Like, that's actually the first step. You just decide that you're going to do it. And then everything just starts falling into place. It's not like you do the whole thing in one big go. Like you plan a little bit. Like you might go, well, okay, let's figure out a date. When might we leave? Like, let's just break it down to these tiny things. And then before you know it, it's there, you're doing it, and it's just
doing it,
right? Yeah. And then you come back, and our kids went back to school. They were back at, their normal grades by the end of the year. And the teachers were saying they actually were participating in discussions around things, and they could tell there was so much that they'd learned on the trip from some of the stuff they'd seen, the different places they'd been in. They had really grown in other ways as well, which made me feel like, wow, it was definitely all worthwhile.
Amazing. What a gift you've given them. That's remarkable.
Yeah.
And, I think absolutely. And I guess, I'll loop baback now to how I started. But, with my business journey, I did just start, and it's probably an annoying answer, and anyone who wants to start a business, my answer is also just do it, because you can't imagine where it's going to lead, and you don't know if it's going to work. And I would say about your caravan trip, you might start it and hate it. And you know what? You can stop. You can do it for 2 weeks and go, this actually is not great. Or, I don't know, something happens in life because people go, what if someone got sick, or what if Well, if someone gets sick, then come back. Like, just plans change. And the only thing I know that is constant is change. And, I kind of even imagined when I started my business journey that I'd be where I am today. And I had a really lovely pivotal moment recently. I went to the Maritime Museum. Funnily enough, I think a lot of things happened when I was 9, because I tell the stories, or I've just decided 9's the age. I remember going to the Maritime Museum with my great uncle, who I love dearly, and who was in the Australian Navy. And I was going to this conference, and the opening night was going to be on the Vampire battleship. And I did a video, and I'm just like, can you imagine little 9-year-old Emma telling her that in 27 years you're going to be back standing on this boat in a sparkly sequin dress, attending a conference through the business that you run. Like, it just was such a really cool moment that you just don't know where it's going to go. And I say I was an entrepreneur. I mean, I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit, but I actually started my business when I was 22, which is pretty baby, really. I started it in uni. I broke my back snowboarding through university at the uni games. And so I actually had a few moments of time where I wasn't doing as much crazy stuff. Yeah. And I decided to use my business majoring in marketing and PR degree and just started my own communications business. So I called it Lovely Communications, because I am Emma Lovell. I'm lovely by name, lovely by nature. I added the Y. And then I just started telling people that I was running a business, and I had a part-time sort of job at that time which had started as an office junior, and then I kind of, with everything I learned in uni, it turned into a marketing role with the and PR role. And I said to them, can I invoice you instead of you paying me as an employee? And so I had my first client. And then I think, if you're like, well, how did you start your business? Why did you start your business? And I was like, ignorance, naivety. I don't know, I just could. I did have a little bit of experience in terms of, like, I had an ABN already. I had been doing promotional work. So some people call it promo model. It was not promo modeling. Sometimes we were handing out cheese at train stations, or, flyers at bus stops at 7 a.m. And then sometimes we were working for V Energy Drink at the big day out. Like it could really be. I worked at Bathurst 1000 doing Telstra, promoting, like, it was very varied, but you essentially had to act as your own, as a freelancer, and you had all these agencies, and jobs came up and you applied, and you had to manage your schedule, and and then you would invoice and things like that. So I had that experience from doing that for throughout uni, so for 3 years already. So really it was just applying for a business name and saying I now officially run a business, and I marked that September 2009 as the beginning of my business journey. And so then it evolved from offering PR services to PR and marketing services to social media. I was an early adopter, and couldn't believe that people actually would pay you to hang out on Facebook, as many people would say. But it was like doing social media content. And then I started teaching people, then picked up the writing element and realized I could offer writing services, so went more into copywriting. And then I sort of went more into consulting and contracting. So working with like World Vision Australia, Cure Brain Cancer Foundation, some travel companies, and working in a sort of contract consulting capacity. And then, in 2019, I had sort of a light bulb moment of, I was running my pet sitting business as well, as you do. I started a pet sitting business, and I was in Australia, the Australian representative for an Indian travel company, which I still do, partner with Indus Bound. And I was in India. I was standing at a temple, a lost city. It is a sort of abandoned city called Fatehpur Sikri, on the phone to a potential business coach. And I was like, I don't want to do all the things anymore, and I don't know what I'm doing. And I hired a business coach for the first time, and she helped me to package up my services. And that's when I sort of went into the coaching program course, and really lent into that consulting that I'd already been doing. I really liked the teaching, coaching, advising, as opposed to the doing, which is you have such a limited capacity when you're doing. And the only way to scale that is to have contractors and to go to agency. And I've just always liked being a one-woman show, or a one-woman show with support, but really primary business is led by me. So I like that model. And so, and then personal branding was my focus for 4 years until last year, when I don't know, so 2023, we're in 2024. I was looking to rebrand. I put in, quotation marks, because I stepped into working as my own name. So ironically, after working for 4 years, telling people about personal brand, I did the I'll work as Emma Lovell, and it just made more sense. It gave me a lot more freedom to be able to, do whatever I wanted in the business and deliver what I wanted. And so I had a dinner with someone, and it's like this conversation where you sort of give your abridged life version, a new friend, and I told her about the business and the travel and the burnout and the breakdowns and all the things. And then I said, and I might run some masterclasses, because as Emma Lovell, I could run masterclasses on how to run retreats and teach people about running retreats. And she was like, no, that's a thing. That's high ticket, that's high value, that is serious thing. And within 30 minutes, we basically decided that my business direction was business travel life coach. I could create my own term, and that I've got it written on my wall, and that I would help business owners to travel more and to do it through the various offerings. And I said to her, I'm going to have to change my messaging and my direction, aren't I? And she was also a brand strategist, so it was the perfect person to have a conversation. But honestly, it happens. Obviously, there would have probably been things led up to that. It wasn't a decision overnight, but it was like, when you find And we talked before of, like sometimes just things come together and the alignment happens, and it just felt so liberating and so freeing and so effortless and so obvious. And it was like, of course, but you take for granted when you're good at something and you have a skill in something. Like I said, I didn't think you've been told the narrative is that you don't make money from travel, that you can't make money from travel, that people don't, there's no money in the travel industry. So even though I have made money from travel, so it's like, why can't I make money from teaching people how to travel more and have that as an element within my business and not just something that the business, not just fueling my love of travel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that's it. I mean, people love to have those broad brush, statements like you can't make money from travel. It's like, well, that's an absolute load of nonsense. We all know that. As soon as you start to examine it, you'll see evidence to the contrary everywhere. It's just about, like you said, maybe there's aspects of travel and ways of looking at it a little bit differently where there's absolutely reasons why you would. And it's interesting to even talk about it like that, because I would see retreats from a business point of view as like, it's not that you're in the travel industry, you're actually in a business and you're in whatever industry you're in, and you're using a retreat as an offering, a tool. What sort of people or businesses do you work with who are using retreats right now, and how are they using them? Just give us a few examples of the diversity.
Well, I love that because, I think so. I really want to do an episode on I have a podcast as well. So I really want to do an episode about what is a retreat, or what is my definition of a retreat, because it actually is quite broad. And, like corporate retreats are a thing where they take, their employees away. And I think though a lot of us think of retreat, we think of wellness and yoga and eating well and no alcohol and that sort of thing. And I didn't really go for retreats because that's where I had pigeonholed them to. And I was just like, it just wasn't sort of a type of travel that I was interested in for a long time. Definitely am now, but it was, so yoga and wellness, I think people think like that, health, that sort of space would obviously run retreats.
The detox retreat.
But then, business retreats are such a different thing. And I think the thing with a retreat is it can be, anyone can run one, on anything. It's about intention. Like, what is your intention for the retreat? And I think what retreats do is they have a transformation. So you go on a retreat in order to have a transformation. You require a change, so you're going on a change. And so a business retreat, you would typically want to learn something or uncover something or unveil something, and that's the thing that would sort of happen. So it's so interesting. I do actually have a client who came to me when she saw that I hosted a retreat in India last year, which was a dream come true. I've been to India 13 times. It's by far my favorite country.
I haven't even been there once, but I've been so many places. It's just one of the ones I haven't been to yet. So
I would love to take you, Jess. Come along with me, but I can say I'm an expert. So and it's funny. Like, actually, it was easier to organise a retreat in India because I still have that travel partner. So I partner with them, and I earn commission for helping people to go on trips. So I have so much of the logistics and I don't know, the hard parts of retreat, like that part was easy there. And you have a lot more capacity just because they simply have more available and more flex in pricing difference because they have so many more people to serve. So there's a lot more opportunity. So I launched my India one, and funnily enough, a yoga teacher who's also a coach came to me and said, "Hey, I've always wanted to run a retreat in India. Can you help us?" And so I helped them. We put together a package for them. I guided them on the pricing. I guided them on, the promotion and things that I had done. I gave them templates. And this is sort of before I sort of decided to do it. And that's the funny thing. You say it to the universe and then someone just comes into your inbox. I knew her well, but, I coached them through, and they sold it out in 2 months, 13 spots. So we're thrilled with that. But yes, that is the yoga style. But then I have another client who's worked with me through personal brand. She came to India with me. And when I said last year that I was going to start coaching on retreats, she's actually in freight forwarding, which means importing and exporting. And my family has history in freight forwarding. So we connected. And that first client I had was freight forwarding. It was the Australian Association for Freight Forwarding. So we clicked on that alignment, and the reason I went to India was because I went to a conference with my dad for freight forwarding.
Right.
And so a lot of my contacts in India are from the freight industry. So she actually said, oh, you know what? I could actually run a retreat taking people who want to meet suppliers and source products from overseas countries and run a retreat. And, people say things, just like, oh, yeah, of course you can. And I was like, oh, I love that you've taken that interpretation. And yes, you could try to apply that to your industry. So we came to India together. She had an amazing time. We met with a freight contact, met with someone who runs an NGO. And then just all of a sudden, she was like, I see this new stream for my business, this sort of community element she wants to create. On the plane home, she asked me just how would I run a retreat? 2 days after we got back, she goes, so I found this fair that's on in February and I want to run a retreat around it. So She Freight's retreat was born and we are heading off on the 5th of February.
Wow, that's so great.
Freight forwarder, yoga, business coach, speakers, podcast hosts, writing retreats are quite, people love to go on writing. So courses. I've been on the first ever official retreat I went on was a writing retreat, completely different to what I expected and probably sparked, the idea that I could actually host them myself. But yeah, I agree. I stand by. If you're listening, if you have I target coaches, community leaders, I would say, like people who have an existing community of people, kind of do need an audience for it. Like business entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, if you've got an audience that you feel you could get together and do some deeper work, then a retreat could be for you. But you must be clear about your intention. Why are you running this retreat? But not because people want it, not because I just think it's the first thing. You cannot start running retreats without understanding why you're doing it, because it is time, it is energy, it might take some money and investment, but it is a lot of you. And if you don't know why you're doing it and you're just doing it for money or you're just doing it for profile, you're just doing it because people ask you to, it's probably not going to work out.
They're really great points. What other things would you say that people, maybe lessons that they learn or that we could learn without having to go through the actual lesson ourselves? So what things would you say, on your list of don't do's or
top 5 mistakes? Yeah, I've got that one. Because I actually will send you, because we just say before, when you have a podcast and you go listen to my podcast, and I came to listen to Jess's podcast, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so many episodes. So I'll actually share for the show notes an episode I did on 5 mistakes that I see retreat hosts make. And I'll also, in that, I share the mistakes that I've made. And the first one is intention. And I actually cancelled a retreat twice because the intention got muddled and the direction got muddled. And what I initially set out for it to be, it just got all mixed, which then affected the messaging. It affected my energy towards it. It just sort of wasn't going to work. So I actually cancelled it twice. It just didn't. Wow. It lost its way. And I still believe in the original intention. It's just not the time. So I will bring that to fruition at some point. Look, profitability is an obvious one. I think people think that with running retreats, they either say they go out with the intention, they go, I'm going to run a retreat, but I'll probably break even or lose money. I'm like, why are we going out with a business, to do a business thing with setting out going, I'm going to lose money? That was another reason for cancelling, was I would have had to push so hard to get it over the line. Or we talked about doing it at a break even, and I was like, I'm not running a business just for funsies. Like this is my livelihood. And I know that if I run it with that mindset, I'm going to get so resentful and it's not going to be good and I'm going to burn out. And so I just don't do it. So profitability is a simple thing of, it sounds so simple, but it's like working out your costs, working out realistically what are your costs per head, and then putting an appropriate margin on top. So many people do it based on a minimum number, and I think that's where they fall over. And then there's a lot of pressure to get that minimum number. I've had retreats with 4 people, 7 people, 12 people. I've been profitable with at all levels.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
I think, and with that, just people just including too much, like not thinking about your program. So just jamming too much in. The best thing about retreats, I don't know if you've been on many, Jess, but I love the space and I love the time to be in this place and to connect with people. And I think that's something I learned from going to conferences and events. I went to a lot of conferences and events when I was working with that organisation, even like kind of running them. And we'd be in these amazing venues and you could barely even get time to go in the pool, let alone like look at the surroundings, because you're in a conference, you're in meetings, you're in packed itineraries, you're eating lunch, you're eating dinner, you're having all these things on. So I think,
and then you need a retreat from the retreat afterwards.
you need a holiday after. So,
just to relax.
Don't take people to a beautiful location and then shove them in a room. And so I'm hosting a retreat on retreats next week at the Langham and the Gold Coast. And I chatted to them about places I could host it, and they offered me a meeting room. And I said to them, honestly, I'm not bringing people to your stunning hotel to shove them in the back of the venue in a meeting room. Like, it's a small group. So I said, we'll sit by the pool or we'll sit in the cafe. Like, I'll tell you where we're going to be. I would love a dedicated space, but I'd actually rather do that and, potentially even take them into my room with a view than put them into a meeting room, because that's not why we went there. And I'm not going to market a retreat as a retreat when actually the program is a conference. I think I see that a lot too. I don't call it a retreat. Be honest about what, like, it has to feel like, and mine's only one day, but it's going to feel like you've been there for retreat.
Yeah. I love that point, because I think that was something that I'd seen and experienced. And, I actually, pre-COVID, I had 2 retreats that were planned that both got cancelled during COVID because of COVID. Like, literally the first one was that first year it happened, and I was like, I kind of held on as long as possible, and I was like, okay, we're going to have to cancel it. And it was so disappointing. But I think that was one of the things that I had, brought into my planning of this, was, even though it would be a business retreat, and yes, I want them to go away with a transformation and a real outcome, I was like, you're coming away from your business to have a break, to have and part of that ability to come away with the transformation, I believe, was being able to have time and space, and to actually give your brain the space to, reflect and to do things. So while it's about engaging with people, then it's also about having that space. And like you say, it's an experience, right? So the experience of a retreat, I think, must be just so important from my perspective. And I'm really glad that we're obviously aligned on that. I was like, that's one of the things, cool. Like, because I think it's so much about it.
And I was talking to Angela Henderson, who runs retreats as well, fabulous one in Bali, which is on my agenda at some point. We seem to be clashing with it when we have events on, but she said something so profound. It was the transformation happens at the transaction. And I have long told my clients that. I'm like, when you say yes, when you decide to come on this thing, and especially when we talk about an international retreat, because I do give a lead time of almost a year, your life starts to change. Like, the way you view things, like 70% of the success is the first step, all that sort of stuff. So you actually deciding to do that for yourself, making that investment and putting the money down to do it, you're already on the process to a transformation. And so I'm really big about as well, telling people when I'm communicating to them about the retreat, like, being really honest about, there's going to be an outcome. There's going to be a change. There's going to be a transformation, but I can't guarantee what that will be for you. I can tell you what other people experienced. I can tell you what other people have got out of it. I can tell you what's included, like, here's the list, but I can't guarantee that for you. And what I've loved letting go of is that I'm probably not the best part of the retreat. Like, I don't want to be the best part of the retreat.
Yeah.
I'm a guide. I'm a coach. I'm a holder of space. And as a retreat host, you're a holder of space. You're not the star. You're not responsible for every person at every second. You create the container. And sometimes I think that the best things they get out of it are the connection with someone else, or maybe in the last case, the connection to India, or the realization that they have. I love it if they go and have a conversation separately over there by the pool, and then they have their aha moment. I don't have to deliver that for them. I created the space. I created the event. I brought the right people together. That's my job. I was the facilitator.
Yeah, I love that. I think that that's absolutely so essential. It's having the right people and creating that environment that allows the transformation to happen. Because I think it's probably a lot of people, what I was going to say about it before, when you're an overachiever, a high achiever, and you're really desperate to make it a success, you're going to have this almost subconscious urge to add more things in, and like,
Yes.
I've got to put more stuff in to make it better, or they're not going to enjoy it, or they're not going to like it. It's like, I think any time when you are planning whatever type of event it is, it's like actually less is more. Like, what's that quote Coco Chanel once said, like, put all your jewelry on and then take something off. So put on everything you want to wear and then take something off, because you've probably gone just that one step too far. So it would be like similar with the event planning, right? Put in all the things that you think you want to have and then take something out.
Because it's over delivery, and then people don't, it's too much for them to take. They don't need or want everything. And I think it's when you're making a sales page or when you're writing out your list, you feel like you need to give more. But then, every time, even on the retreat, I've ended up taking out a session because, even the welcome session, I did do a welcome. We had a cheese board and things like that. But I had this on the first day that we were going to sit down and do like a 2-hour session. And I was like, but you're all already mingling. You're already all connecting. I don't want to interrupt that loveliness. Like, that's what you're here to do. The only thing I realized that I probably needed on that one was adding in another day, because that first day of arrival, I think that's just for connection and interaction. It's not for learning and workshops. So that was a great lesson for me, was that I'll add in another day on my domestic rest and receives, because then we have another day to do the work. I put inverted commas again. Because, it's a podcast. I know people can't see, but and there was a point there as well where you said with the retreats about people feeling like you have to give them something, or they have to get the outcome or learn something. I had a walk with a colleague the other day, and she said she had this concept for just taking mums away, mums in business, just taking them away, no agenda, no itinerary, just like that is the thing. And when they're away, they might just work on their stuff or just have a breather or whatever, but it's in a business context and being around business people, because they won't give themselves permission to go on a holiday. They won't give themselves permission to take a night away. They won't take a break. And I think the audience that I attract, and I've done, are nurturers, and then also there's like empire builders. So there's the people who are overgiving, nurturing, taking care of everyone, never taking care of themselves, or they're the people who are drive, strive, can't take a break, hustle. So it's very antithesis to them to take this time, but both audiences need just that space, because that's when the good idea drops in. That's when the opportunity.
And it's that conversation over dinner or something like that with someone you're sitting next to, where you just have that huge insight moment where you're like, oh my goodness, I hadn't even thought about it that way before.
Thought about it, had time, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with you hosting a retreat that is purely to take people away from their day to day and give them the opportunity to focus on themselves. And essentially that's what my signature retreat, Rest and Receive, is. It was a gorgeous client who still is on my wall, Liz Ellis, I've got her name there. She gave me that phrase. She was coaching me one night and said, I think you just need to go to bed. I was all overwhelmed, and I was like, no. And I actually did go to bed, and in the morning there were 3 opportunities in my inbox. And so she said, when you relax, you receive, and I changed it to rest. So when you rest, when you take a rest, you take a break, when you give yourself, even sometimes 20 minutes, I go and have a lie down, I'll start getting ideas for reels. Like, it's when we rest, then we can receive.
I love that. It's so true. I think, the rest is so much part of the work, and we often, when you're very motivated, we've got goals, anyone who is an entrepreneur has that spirit, you've got the vision, you've got that drive and passion. It is hard to take your foot off the pedal and give yourself a break and actually properly rest, and not just then fill the time up with all the other stuff that you need to do in your life. I know, I put my hand up and say that's something I battle with myself all the time, because there's always something to do. There's always things in the house. If there's not something in the business, like there is no end to the stuff that I should be doing. And it takes, at that moment for me, last week, it took the flu to make me actually lie down on the couch and put my feet up and actually say, okay, I know there's a million things I need to be doing right now. I'm not going to do any of them. I'm just taking a bit of time to relax. And did anything happen? Did it all crumble down? No, of course it didn't. No, not at all.
It's a day, it's a week, it's a month. I mean, everybody's lives move on, and we've all got our own stuff. But, I do have a physical reminder of what happens when you don't take a break. And that was me took breaking my back to force me to have rest, which led to my business being able to begin because I actually had time. I did better in my uni subjects. I dropped 2 subjects. I did better in my uni subjects than I'd done. I was more focused and dedicated in those, but there's still times like I wish I would, I know I'm at burnout point when I wish that I would get sick, or I wish if I could just break, I don't know, like an ankle, not in a bad way.
Force yourself to stop.
Hospital stay, like be like, oh my God, like wow, like that is
okay.
I had that and it wasn't ideal, but a year later I didn't learn the lesson and I broke my mind. I basically had a mental breakdown at like 22, 23 because I was running a business, and then I was like director of another business because that's what I do, doing the promo work, doing all the things. I was only a year into my business, and I really, feel like I had a breakdown. I had to stop the 6 weeks, could not do any work, just had to just recover from that. And so, it's like we do not need to physically or mentally break ourselves in order to have a rest. And I have done both. I don't recommend either, but I tell you, I'll take the broken back over the mental break anytime.
Yeah. You know what? Something I was thinking about probably a week ago before I got the flu, I was out on a walk, and I was, this whole hustle culture, I know we talk about it so much, but there's still people out there saying, if you're not doing something, then you're doing nothing, and blah, blah, blah. You're never going to get anywhere if you're just watching Netflix. And I thought, where did it all come from? That was the question I asked myself. And I was like, I think that this whole mentality around working harder and just get it done, and that drive and that badge of honor that we have, that how much we've achieved in the time, probably came from the industrial leaders, because guess what? They had these big businesses, they had workers, they were paying them, and they wanted more output, more productivity for the money they were spending. So if each person could generate more in the hours that they were working, their businesses were better. So, you just imagine that's where it came from. And yet here we are now as entrepreneurs running our own business, doing it to ourselves, like actually putting the hustle culture on ourselves, which was what those industrialists did to get more out of their workers. Why are we doing it to ourselves? It's insanity when you think about it, because you're actually not more productive. You don't have more success. You're just literally grinding yourself into the ground.
And the irony is most of us start businesses to have freedom. And that's, that's again where this, my messaging sort of came last year. It's like, I used to sometimes, and I sort of associate a lot with a freelancer. I think that's in my heart. I'm always going to be the freelancer and doing the bits and bobs and working for myself. But there were days where I'd go out and I'd stand on my balcony, which even felt a stretch. Just walking out onto the balcony felt like I can't do that. And I was like, where's the free in freelancer? Like, I get the free not being paid bit, but not the freedom that I subscribe to. And it was such a quick, that little statement in my head, like, where's the free in this, or where's the freedom that it was the whole reason for doing this? And it's a quick kind of realignment or readjustment to go, okay, I actually have control over that. I actually have a say in that. And I could just, I can just take 5 minutes now, or an hour, or a day away, or whatever it is. And, as I said, I think the retreats give people the permission to do that. And, from a business angle, then they are tax deductible. Talk to an accountant, make sure that's true. But, they are tax deductible. They are an investment. You are going to contribute to your business. A whole lot of it, you're going to get some space and time and personal development.
Yeah. And I think that there's so much now, our world changed during COVID. You mentioned COVID earlier, and, a few things sort of popped into my mind when you said that. One of them was, we all went online. And so then we started to crave face-to-face interactions and actually being around people. So, when you have clients or people who typically work from home or work online, then creating these retreats, I think instead of thinking, well, why would someone want to come on one, or why would someone pay that money to go on one? It's like, give them the invitation to actually step away from home and step away from the day-to-day of their business. And you might actually be surprised how many people are just waiting for that invitation for the reason, because it's hard to organize your own travel at times. That, you know, the beauty of it is, as a client or a guest who's going along to a retreat, all you have to do is book your ticket. Like,
pay the money.
Everything else is taken away. Yeah.
It's so luxurious. And even the travel partner that I have in India and for Sri Lanka, it's so great. I'm going, you know, with She Freights with my colleague Christine Kankunen, and I said to her, I know we're going to be working and I don't want you to take it the wrong way. I'm going to be present, I'm going to be working, I'm going to be dedicated as a co-host, but I'm also so excited because all I have to do is be there. We get drivers, the hotels are arranged, we have guides who tell us where to go and where we need to be, and we have the food is all arranged. Obviously the cleaning, because they clean. I won't be parenting. My son is staying here. I won't be friending and lifing. I will just be focused on our, you know, business objective and being present. And then I'm so excited for all the ideas that are going to come and the content that I'll probably be able to create, because I'll actually have time. Yeah,
it's just beautiful. I love that. I think it's just giving yourself that time and space, and what an opportunity. Why not do that for yourself and help other people have that experience as well? I
selfishly get a lot out of it. Like, I get so much out of it, which is why I keep running them, and I do them in a way that, you know, it's a thing that I want to do. It's a place that I want to go. I chose the Langham Gold Coast because I want to stay at the Langham. So I just invited people to come and do it. And that was such a fun realization last year too. I was in Queenstown and I was like, I could just run something here because I want to come back, and just invite people to do it too. And
yes,
you know, I can make it possible.
Totally. It was like the one that I had to cancel. I had originally for the McLaren Vale in South Australia to go on a wine and experiencing like long weekend there, which would have been amazing. So I've still got half the plans, and you know, you never know, I'll pull that out at some point. I think it's got to happen.
Well, you get the appetite here. I mean, you have to plant the seed with the audience, and
exactly. You know, and you never know. 2024, feel like, you know, it's the year everyone's ready for more things and to branch out and to experience stuff. You know, this is life. We get one go at it. There's no dress rehearsal. You don't get to come back and have another turn. So let's make the most of it. Yeah. So what would you say, like, just to, I guess, close off this amazing conversation we've had about retreats? I think we're all probably super excited about them. We're either thinking of going on one or thinking of hosting one. So do you have any, one bit of advice or final takeaway that you'd love to give to the audience at this point?
Yeah, it was one of the ones that I didn't talk about with the 5 mistakes, and it's a mistake that I continue to make, and it's that you simply do not talk about it enough. You think that you're talking about it, you think that you're sharing it all the time, but a lot of that's in your head. And on every single retreat I've had where I think I've said about it till I'm blue in the face, I've had people go, oh my gosh, you were there? I didn't even know you were doing that. And I wish I could come. And I wish I could have been there if I had have known. And you're like, where, I did the emails, I did the Instagrams, I did the Facebook, I did the LinkedIn, I private messaged you. Like, it's not enough though. We need to see things like 18 times. And so I think finding ways to have fun with marketing it, and just to know that if people get sick of it, they can turn it off. But there are people out there who need what you're offering. They need to see this retreat, and they just simply didn't see it enough because you didn't share it enough. And so just talk about it and have fun talking about it, and offering that invitation. And sometimes they'll say no, not right now, and then they'll come on your 3rd or 4th one. Yeah, I think just talk about it.
Absolutely. I think that bit of advice is probably, like, in general, overall, with any marketing you're doing, you think you're saying something over and over again. Trust me, nobody else has either heard you, or it went in one ear, out the other. It's passed them by, and you almost can't say something too many times at the moment in this world, because we're just surrounded by information. We have information everywhere at our fingertips around us all the time, and the amount we're absorbing is so little.
Yeah.
So little. So yeah, I love that. Thank you. What a wonderful way to end out, because I think that's such an important tip for anybody, no matter what type of event or anything that you're running, even if you're running an online event, just talk about it, tell people about it, make sure it is everywhere, because they will then hopefully be able to sign up and come along and experience it, and not tell you, I wish I'd known. That's definitely, let's avoid that one. Thank you so much, Emma. I think you've shared so much about retreats and really opened up that possibility again. I think we had, maybe still had the after effects of COVID on a lot of our brains. Definitely this time last year, I think the idea of trying to host an event, especially overseas, would have been quite scary for people still, because what if the world shut down again? I think we've got past that now, and everybody's sort of back into normal zone, and travel's definitely opened up, and all the opportunities are there. Like you said, it's just amazing some of the options that you have and you've uncovered when you go somewhere where they can literally organize all of these things for you. You're not having to do it. So you've got so much wisdom to share on that, and how to do it, and who are these connections that can help make your life easier in an overseas country. Just an amazing amount. So thank you for sharing that other episode that you've done, because I do encourage everyone to jump over to your podcast and listen in more detail to the 5 mistakes that people should have avoid with your retreats. And no doubt you've got some other amazing tips and advice on running them on your website and your podcast as well. So I'll link those up in the show notes, and they can head over and check that out.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been lovely, and it's always so nice when you have the alignment, and congrats to you and your family on doing that caravan trip. I know it's a big goal for a lot of people, so to have achieved it, it's really wonderful, and very aspirational, inspirational for me too.
Thank you. It's one of those things, we're both travelers, so I think we were just like, right, we're just deciding that we're doing it, and then it all just happens, which I know is a hard step for most people to take. And I think I'm lucky that my husband is like-minded as I am, and we tend to always have at least a couple of trips planned in and booked at any moment in time, so that we have things to look forward to, and we just love getting away and experiencing things in our country and in others. But thanks so much, Emma. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast today, and I look forward to our next conversation, because I'm sure there will be one.
Thank you so much.
Isn't it just so frustrating when you know that out there are so many people that actually need your help, and there's many actively looking for somebody just like you, yet all you seem to attract are the odd tire kicker or really uncommitted client that's kind of dabbling, and they don't light you up. They really don't get great results. And you're thinking, what does it actually take to attract clients who are committed, who are happy to pay proper prices for what it is that I do, and that I can help to have really great results? What is it going to take? Well, it's not in the activity of what you're doing. Here's the thing. It's usually something else that's a bit deeper. And I'm sharing with you what that is in my training. It's called 5 Keys to Premium Paying Clients. And I'm going to share with you what are these 5 things that you need to have in your strategy, so that no matter what tactic or activity you choose to do, it actually works. It works. You attract the right clients, the ones who are ready to work with you, the ones who are ready to pay and sign up. So get yourself over to my website now on jessicaosborne.com/TMF. Register for this free class, and let's dive right in. So once again, that's jessicaosborne.com/TMF. And the link is below in the show notes as well. I encourage you to register now, allocate just over an hour of your time, maybe up to an hour and a half, so you can take some notes and really reflect on the things that I share with you in this class. And let's change your year this year. Let's make your business actually turn into your dream business together.